Bowser's Fury is looking like an absolutely excellent additional game that comes alongside Mario 3D World with a brand new open world 3D adventure, and you get to battle Bowser as giant Giga Cat Mario. What could be better? But I am still kind of curious about how this giant battle is going to work in the first place. We know the boss battle is not just one and done. There's multiple different versions that you'll fight Bowser thanks to the Nintendo website, and you'll actually fight him multiple times in order to defeat him for good. But we kind of got to talk about what the point of this is, how the fight will work, and exactly what is going to be the final boss of the game. But first, I want to thank you guys once again. Last week was a monumental week for the channel. With over 5,000 brand new subscribers, you guys have been so great. So please, if you enjoyed the video today, make sure you leave a like and subscribe if you guys are new to stay up to date on all things Mario 3D World, Bowser's Fury, and all things Nintendo in general. And if you don't subscribe, Bowser's Fury is going to rain all over you. So, when Bowser is in his giant Fury mode all over the map, you can actually wait this out and then he'll go back into his shell. You don't even have to fight him at all. But we know, in order to kind of, I guess, open up new worlds and new areas, we have to defeat him. We've also pointed out on other videos that there's more than one giant Giga Cat Bell. We can see multiple on the map and probably one for each area, which probably means we have to defeat him as many areas as there are in the game. Most people figure there's around 6 different areas within the game, which would mean 6 different boss fights against Bowser. But how is this fight actually going to work? All we see is the camera pan out behind Mario as he's in his pouncing position, and Bowser getting ready to jump up in the air somewhere, which seems like he's going to start moving around the map, and you have to fight him around the map. So what does this mean? How does this work? Well, thankfully we actually have some pictures to go off of exactly how this will look and how this will work. The first one, we see Bowser shooting a giant fire laser beam at Mario, and Mario's doing some type of cat dive in order to dodge it. This looks like the normal cat dive from the game, which would kind of indicate that maybe his moveset is exactly the same and he's just bigger now. The second picture, Mario is doing a ground pound right in the middle of Bowser's stomach and seems to be slightly up in the air a little bit. Now, we know that also this is a basic move that Mario can do within Mario 3D World, so once again, this doesn't change much, but it does show a big part of this battle as he's not just ground pounding, but it's a power move with a specific animation for Bowser. Now, picture number 3 is a little bit different. It shows Mario almost looking like he punched Bowser, but if you look closely, you can see one of Bowser Fury's giant pillars that come from the sky and mess up the terrain. So maybe Mario picked up one of these pillars and tossed it at Bowser, sending him flying backwards, and this whole pose and animation and everything within this scene is very reminiscent of the Mario Odyssey boss battle against Bowser himself. But having the ability to pick up giant objects as giant Giga Cat Mario would be a lot of fun to just start chucking them at Bowser. And with this final picture, it looks like Mario is once again doing his cat swipe, followed up by a dive at the end on Bowser. Now, this is just showing once again, you are going to pretty much have Mario's basic cat moveset just as Big Mario, maybe with some slight additions. But I like the fact that you can actually fight Bowser straight up. There's no, let's drop him in lava, let's jump on his head, any of that. It's just actually fighting Bowser, which I think is so cool. Now, when we defeat Bowser the first time, what happens the second time? Does he get stronger? I hope so, because if it's the same battle over and over and over again, it will get kind of annoying. Now, I keep comparing this Bowser's Fury fight in the same vein as the Imprisoned from The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword. If you've ever remembered this one, lots of people weren't big fans of this battle, but it was a very interesting one to say the least. The Imprisoned, spoiler alerts, was actually Demise, the ancient evil incarnation of what Ganon and Ganondorf would be in the future. But this also makes me wonder if Bowser's Fury, or whatever Fury Bowser actually is, isn't even actually Bowser, but instead some other type of being controlling Bowser, which is probably the case. But anyways, with that said, what you do against Imprisoned is kind of come back and fight him throughout the entire course of the game multiple times. And every time you fight him, you have to defeat him and seal him in order to keep him down, and that's kind of what you're doing with Bowser. But he keeps reawakening until you're able to get the full power of the Master Sword. And even with that, you still have to fight him multiple times. For instance, your first encounter with him, he'll just have giant weird legs and nasty toes. And then the second time, he'll have long arms. And then the third time, he'll have a giant halo around his head and tries to fly out of the sealed grounds. And this has changed up the combat aspect because one time maybe you just have to chop off his toes. The next time you have to wait for him to fall over to chop off his fingers. The next time you'll have to actually ride a bomb launcher and launch on top of his head in order to drive the spike in his head. But the whole point of this is, what if there's different ways to fight Bowser each time you seal him, and that way it'll keep the boss fight fresh and interesting as to what Bowser's gonna do next. What if one time Bowser just uses his claws and shoots fire, but then the second time he has a giant hammer, or the third time his claws get huge and he can swipe you across the map or something crazy? I don't know, but it'd be really cool to see different aspects of Bowser getting stronger and using all that theory around him to create some crazy weapons and stuff. That would be really cool, and you'll have to approach him in a different way, with maybe a brand new attack that you weren't thinking about before. This would add an unbelievable amount of depth to a Mario game, which we never really get to see the likes of. But then the question is, what is the final boss fight going to be? If this isn't the end with two giant creatures fighting each other to the death, what the heck are they going to end the game on? Well, I think the last boss fight might not even be Bowser. It might be whatever this creature is that's consuming him and taking over him, because I just don't think this is Bowser. How would Bowser have done this to himself? And I don't think he would have, especially fighting his own son. And his son needs his help, as Mario is the only one that can save the day because of whatever took over Bowser. So if there is some type of special thing to fight at the end, or maybe you just fight Bowser in his ultimate mode at the end in order to get this thing out of him, who knows? But it's very interesting, and it does make me wonder what could be the final boss. Maybe there is some type of ancient cat creature that's evil or something, that takes over residence or something. I don't know, but it is kind of suspicious. We also don't know if you have full control over Cat Mario or not, or is it kind of like a giant battle where you'll only have certain moves to perform at the right times, almost like Punch-Out. You'll just have to dodge and weave and attack when there's an opportunity. Or are you free to use any move that you want as Giant Cat Mario? I'm looking at the latter right now because it seems like Mario's able to do his cat dive and the basic moves like ground pound and everything still, which probably means it's just an ordinary fight, but with a giant version of Mario, which would be fun because we've never really done that against Bowser yet. But I leave it to you guys. What do you think this boss fight is going to entail? Do you think these pictures showed us enough as to what's going to happen? What do you think we're going to do in order to stop Bowser for good? And does Bowser actually change every time you defeat him? And of course, what would be the final boss of the game if that's the case? Well, there's a lot of questions still about this game, but the game comes out very soon, right here in February 12th, which is super close, and I cannot wait to get my hands on this game myself. But guys, if you enjoyed the video, make sure you leave a like and subscribe in order to stay up to date on all things Nintendo. Hit that notification bell. It helps a lot more than you think. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and like always, I will see you all on the next one. See you guys.